This episode of the Unredacted Podcast is brought to you by Dragon Forge Consulting. Dragon Forge provides boutique consulting services for federal and commercial clients looking to expand their business in a turbulent time. Learn more by visiting their website at www.dragon-forge.net. That's www.dragon-forge.net. Well, it's not yet Christmas, but we're pretty close.
Every day is Christmas for me, Brian, so live every day like Christmas.
I love this time of year because when I was in government, I would take the month of December off, just the whole month, and I would get so much pushback when I would submit the leave form.
Whoa.
Well, because, let's be honest.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, but I never really took time during the year. I might have taken, a week for a vacation or something like that in the summer with the kids and stuff. But, I never, took any time during the course of the year.
Yeah.
Maybe the day after Thanksgiving. So, I reserve the whole month of December just to take off. And you have to, too, because you have the use or lose kind of policy, right?
Yeah.
So, this time of year for me is great because the government in general kind of goes to sleep.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of taking leave. Then the last part of December's there, and it's I just find it so...
It's like your reset. You get a December reset. That's so nice.
Yeah, so you just kind of unplug and just let it be what it is. I just love that piece of it. And of course, now my kids are older, so the Christmas presents aren't nearly as fun because the secret is, everybody, I buy the toys for me.
Oh.
So if anybody knows me, I love Star Wars stuff. And so when my kids got to the age where they could have the Star Wars toys...
Ooh, that was really for you.
It's a little embarrassing in the Drake household how many Star Wars toys and ships we have. It's a lot.
The kids are older, Brian. Why don't you get rid of these? These are for me. These are my personal play space.
Maybe
that
might be a truth. That might be.
I still have all Barbie. If you knew how many Barbies are in my house, Brian, and still I have them. I kept all my Barbies from my childhood, and then I bought my daughters more Barbies. And for the record, nobody's playing with Barbies at my house now, other than me. I sometimes get them out. Yeah.
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 Well,
so it's the same.
Part, right? Isn't that the best part about Christmas? Is everything's open up. Then you get to play with the kids for as long as they tolerate you.
Yeah.
And then it's
I have unlimited playtime with my kids, so this is I've not reached the limit where they're sick of me. I'm looking forward to that. Mom's reading a book. You can go enjoy your Lego set.
It comes fast. Yeah, everybody says this. It comes fast. It is not so bad that now they're a little older, and so now our activities are a little more. I won't say tame. We play some fierce board games in the Drake household. I'll tell you, fierce.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that some other time, I guess. But, so this is our first crossover podcast with the Iron Butterfly podcast.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we got Megan Jaffer here. We didn't get Katie this time. We might get her next time. It's Katie Hopkins, her co-host and co-founder. But we got her to come on and talk about her experience in it. Now, my eyes turned a shade of green when she posted up on the socials, their studio, which is beautiful. They've got, mobile microphones and deep chairs and big earphones, professional soundboard. Not as much here. I don't think they do a bad job in terms of studio quality, but they have a legit studio.
Yeah.
And they were doing
very
video.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So how did you know Megan?
Oh, just the, 6 degrees of icy separation. I couldn't even recall how or when or where I first encountered her, but obviously a big champion for what she does. I happen to be a woman. I'm a big fan of my gender.
It's convenient.
So I've seen this throughout my career. And so when they first started that, I was like, oh yeah, there are all of these stories about women in the intelligence community that have not been told. And there is something I'm a big fan of women supporting and promoting women, which has not always been the case. I mean, I'm old enough to remember my early days in the Pentagon where, I'm always like, it is still a sausage fest out there across the national security and IC community or working in the Pentagon. It is still dude land. The dudes dominate.
Yes.
It is and so this is just fact.
Yes.
This is not a hot take on DEIA. This is look at the numbers, people, read a room, walk into a national security event and tell me what the ratio is. A lot more dudes. And so I know from just my clearance jobs, I work for a career site. How do people find out about jobs? From other people who do those jobs.
Right.
And if you do not see or ever hear women talking about their work or their job, it would not be in the art of the possible. I mean, I have that from my own. I went to GW. I had an academic scholarship, people. I'm not independently wealthy and did not come. I came from a middle class Midwestern home. But all my friends, because I was an international affairs, conflict and security major, my closest friends were ROTC people. They were all the kids of service members. Nobody ever talked to me about ROTC. I went on my campus visits. Nobody ever said, hey, would you join I would have. Somebody could have made the case. I think I could have or would have chosen that path. Never even occurred to me because no one ever mentioned it. I never knew a female service member. My brother got the calls for people trying to get him to, join the military. I don't know. Something about my dance team and drama background maybe didn't appeal to maybe if I'd been a basketball star, but nobody ever mentioned it. I didn't know. And you don't know what you don't know. So
Right.
I'm a big believer in what Megan and Katie and Iron Butterfly Foundation are doing because I think that that's valuable work. And to your point, we want the strongest national security community possible. If brilliant young girls don't think that that's in the art of the possible for them, we're just missing out on getting the best national security community we can.
Do you think something like the Iron Butterfly podcast would have existed in the late 90s, early 2000s?
No, well, and that's why I say, again, a hot take is I feel like early on in my career at the Pentagon, the women were pretty brutal. It was hard. And I think because the glass ceiling had not been burst through nearly enough, there were only so many seats at the top. My best mentors early in my career were men who said, hey, you're smart, you're brilliant. And that was always tough, too, because some of the women made snide remarks about, the general just likes young blondes. I was like, he likes whip smart young blondes. You better believe it. Ones that, it was hard. And so I'm super glad to see that work because it shows, and again, I don't say that to be mean to my gender, all of that. I see it because it was a numbers game. And if you were a woman at the top and you saw only so many seats, and the dudes didn't want, I still feel that in my career sometimes. Like the dinners, you're going out to a dinner, you realize you're the only chick at the dinner. Mm-hmm. I say chick as a term of endearment, women, to my people. But you're the only one, and I've had that. I've had to question, I know functionally because of who I am and what I know I should be at this dinner, but should I ask or present to go because the conversation might sway different, and is it going to be an advantage or a disadvantage? I've had to go through that narrative in my head so many times. I want to get to the point where that's not a topic. If you're just like, oh, if you're a woman and you should be in the room, you should be in the room.
Yeah, you're there for a reason. It was the hardest thing to mentor young women when I was in a leadership position because that we all have this imposter syndrome type thing, but there is so much more baggage, all due respect to the various folks in the world that have different types of baggage, but there is so much gendered baggage that comes along, especially in the defense community, that you have to punch through to say, no, you're coming to the meeting with me because you deserve to be at the table, or you go to the meeting without me because you deserve to be at the table, and if there's going to be an issue, bring it back. And if it's, hopefully it's a substantive issue that we have to make a decision on. But if it's something else, then that's a problem I'm going to deal with. And I took a lot of umbrage, I'll say, when I saw my peers doing stuff like that. And I tell you this too, in your experience it may have been more overt. In my experience, it's very subtle. Very subtle. It's a comment in a room, and it may not even be fully cognizant to the person who's saying it, but they kind of have that view. And what do you do to say, that's not a value we hold here, right? We value having different views on a problem, which sometimes means we have people with different backgrounds, right? That's not a bad thing. So, yeah, I was super excited to get Megan because I wanted to learn from her about her experiences in starting the podcast. I wanted to learn the reasons why. I think we got some of that captured. And then I wanted to get a little inside dope on her new project, which is this documentary that she's put together, which sounds incredible. I can't wait to see it. And so she talks about that at length, so I'm excited about it. All right. And so with that, here's Megan Jaffer.
But my husband's family is in LA and my family's in Chicago, and we have to hit both of them over the holidays. So we go to LA for Thanksgiving and then we go to Chicago for Christmas. And it's just like, I would love to just be in my own home. That's what I would love. That's my Christmas wish.
Yeah, that is. My mother passed away 2020.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's pretty recent.
It's well, in the grand scheme of things, not that recent. So
yeah,
I'm not over it. You're never over it, but
no.
Now we have a new inflection in our lives, and so everything's fine.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Maybe it's our age. It's got to be, because I feel like recently, especially the last, I would say, couple years, I've spoken about death a lot, just randomly, not just with friends and with my husband, but like a conversation like this, where, and it's just so interesting. And I don't ever remember talking about death as much, but I think it's because we're at an age where we have aging parents and we have aging aunts and uncles, and I guess it's just part of life. But it's interesting.
It is a journey.
Yeah.
It is a journey. Well, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. I just felt joy when I received the invite.
I'm going to be real honest with our listeners and you.
Uh-huh.
I absolutely adore the Iron Butterfly podcast. It's as any podcast listener, and I hope everyone that subscribes to this podcast has the same impulse, it pops up and it's number one in the queue.
Oh.
Right? It's before the news. I'm going to listen to this. Right? So I just listened to the one you released a couple of days ago, and yeah, outstanding historical retrospective, great story, really engaging, and you guys put so much work into it. So what I want to kind of get here is we're doing this little crossover thing where I'm learning from a more learned and veteran
well, I don't
podcaster.
know about that, but
I think so. Listen, I seen your studio. A studio.
Yeah,
you
but
have.
that was years in the planning. It wasn't overnight. And before we go forward, I just want to say the effort we put in, especially that episode, it was Andrea's episode to talk about her Aunt Jane.
Yeah.
And it was all Amanda. Amanda is our producer and our editor, and she works so hard on specifically that, I mean, on all of our episodes, but that one in particular, because she weaved in historical photos and documents, and I just want to give a shout out to her because she is a rock star.
Right. And a guest like that with a rich corpus of an archive,
I know,
made it so much like, wow, real captured piece of history. I thought it was disappointing that the agency hadn't put her aunt on the wall.
I know.
It
She's still
sounds
fighting.
like-
She's still fighting for it.
I mean, of course, now my work in the DIMF, I understand this. Like, they have regs. DIA has an NSA, CIA. Anybody who goes up on a place of honor, there's regulations around it and controls. And DIA, just a couple of years ago, put somebody up on the memorial wall who was a defector from East Germany who then became a U.S. citizen, worked for DIA, was working Soviet naval stuff, gets lured back into Germany, and they injected him with something to probably sedate him.
Yeah.
But the dose was too much. It killed him. So this is 1960-ish. I mean,
Yeah.
it's 70s probably. I'd have to go back and look. But he wasn't on the wall for decades.
Yeah.
And the historian's office researched this particular person and then brought to there's a review board, said this person probably should be up on the wall. Sure enough, they did. And his wife, former spouse, is still alive. So she was there for the dedication ceremony.
That's amazing.
Kids, everything. Really nice, right? I hope they were able to do that.
Yeah, it's literally down to one piece,
document.
one document, just to prove that she was heading to a meeting that was actually work related.
Right. Such a silly bureaucratic thing.
It's a small thing, and she's. I think she's close. I actually feel good about she will get there. But yeah, thank you. It was a good episode. Thanks for listening to that one.
Well, you can tell all of these are labors of love, and I'm going to ask a couple of things. So, to me, it sounds very extemporaneous. Like you guys don't really intervene much, right? You just kind of record it and it goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I will tell you early on. Early on, Katie wasn't interviewing, and the reason I don't know if I think we say this occasionally on random things, but it's worth saying here. When we first started, Katie was a government employee. She was working at DIA, so she couldn't be out front, right? She was behind the scenes and she was producing and doing all the stuff, but she couldn't be interviewing. And so, when we first started, obviously during COVID, and it was all virtual, and we did it through Zoom and Zencastr, and I did not know what I was doing, and I wouldn't say I had a script, but I had my questions written out, and this is what we're gonna tackle today, and we kind of had it was kind of topical. We tried to Sue was one of our first guests. Sue Gordon was one of our first guests, and hers was on leadership. And, Carmen was our first guest, and hers was, coming right off the heels of George Floyd. So we talked about.
This is Carmen Medina. Sue Gordon and Carmen Medina.
Right. And so we were topical back then. So fast forward, we 5 years, almost 6 years. Now Katie's in front of the camera now, and it's a conversation. That's how we always wanted it to be. There's no questions up front. We want to go where they want to take it. We do some due diligence if we don't know the person, so that we're okay, what have they done? Where can we go? Whatever. But that's the beauty of it, is we're learning the story as they're telling it, just like the audience is. So I love it so much. And, now we have kind of a company, right? So we have a company to run, and, that's the day-to-day, and it's only occasionally that we're doing the recordings, right? And every time we sit down for a recording and we're done, I think, oh, I wish we could do this all the time, every day, just because it's so awesome.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very hard to describe. I would encourage anybody to start this process. I had thought about this for a long time, but never got the opportunity. And when Lindy and I did the unredacted resume with INSA, that magic you're describing, I think, is what I felt and what she felt. And so we wanted to continue that conversation. And so, we're still figuring out kind of the culture we're bringing to the table, but a couple of your principles and what you and Katie founded, we're carrying forward to nonpartisan, right? We don't, it's an American enterprise here in security. We don't take sides on the issues. We want it to be relevant to people's career development. We also want it to be fun and entertaining, and you learn something about it. So you guys check all these boxes.
Well, thanks.
It's been spectacular.
Thanks.
Yeah, and you've got some great folks to learn from and listen to. But I want to ask this kind of more stage setting question.
Yeah.
I learned this from you, but why did you start this podcast?
So I have to give it all to Katie. We had, about 12 years ago, I think you know this, but for other folks, I had co-founded with a bunch of other women in the intelligence community, self-organized, self-funded organization called the Amazing Women of the IC,
yes,
AWIC. And it was just, it was an organization in support of women in the national security space for mentorship and, all of the great things around that. Well, during COVID, obviously everything stopped, and they had to. And I had at that point passed the baton to Katie Hopkins, who is my co-founder and co-host of Iron Butterfly podcast, and she was now running AWIC. And they had to pivot, and one of the ways they pivoted was they were doing these Ask Me Anything series via Zoom, as an event instead of doing in-person events. And they were really successful, and they were successful even when they were doing them in person, because what we focused on was not their jobs, but who they were as people, as women. And so when other women came to these Ask Me Anythings in person and online, they got to ask about being a woman, not just, tell me about your job as, director of X such and such, right? It was, tell me how it was having two toddlers when you were, getting promoted to SES or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And so people liked that they could ask really frank questions about just being a woman. So anyway, Katie was at DIA, and at that time, they couldn't go into the office. And so they were given, and I'm probably going to butcher the story a little bit, but they were given her seniors would say, while you're at home, you got to listen to these 5 podcasts.
Yeah, training. Right? Yeah, I remember.
And all the national security podcasts were all topical podcasts. So they were talking about Russia and Ukraine, or Israel and Hamas, or North Korea. And they weren't really talking about the people. Mm-hmm. And so it was her idea. And she said, there's there's a missing piece here. So she had come to me and said, I think I want to do this. And I'm like, great. Why don't you go? My husband had a podcast, a successful podcast. I said, why don't you go talk to him? He'll mentor you through it, because he was mentored when he started his. And then off to the races, go forth. It'll be great. I'll support you. And then she came back and she was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, great. And she goes, and you're going to host it. And I'm like, what? No, I'm not. And so she broke me down, and ultimately I did it. And here we are, 5 years later, 9 seasons in, and it's been a joy. Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. When you listen to those national security things, you do lose that human piece of it. And what I think is interesting about the folks, Carmen D is a great example, who I also interviewed for the Analytic Transformation series we're going to release a little bit later next year. Carmen is a unique person because she has this attitude of I don't give a fuck. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make this thing work. She wouldn't use that word.
No, she wouldn't. But
we can on this explicit podcast. She says, "I'm just going to move out." And she wrote that book, Rebels at Work, which of course I use as a mentorship tool for all sorts of folks. I would buy it. It's not a very long book. If anyone else, gets an opportunity, please buy it on Amazon. It's very, very good. It's not long, and it's just this like a handbook. Here's what basically, there's another book called How Do You Lead When You're Not in Charge? It's a lot like that. Mm-hmm. So the title's very provocative. I'm sure her agent had something to do with it. But it's a great instructional manual for assume some professional risk, take some moves forward, find ways to create change. And I think what you guys capture are unique people, no doubt about it, but they are people that had the epiphany at some juncture, oh, wow, I'm in charge, or I can affect change.
Yeah.
And they take that mantle and they make amazing things happen.
Yeah.
And if that inspires just one person, that's worth every hour you've committed to that.
Well, and what I think is cool is, you can make change, and you see this through our guests, at different levels. You don't have to be a senior executive or a director of an agency.
100%.
Like, of course, you have a larger platform then, and you have more money, and you have more leeway. But, we have interviewed lots of women mid-career that are doing that themselves. And so that's what I like, too, that, we have the rock stars and the leaders, but we also have the people actually, on the line, like doing the work currently, right? So, it's cool.
The episode that, of course, is near and dear to my heart was you interviewed one of our scholars out of the DIMF, Marie Mickley, as well as some other scholars from the other charities associated with Spruce Stock. I thought, that was so great, too, because it is that legacy. It's that legacy.
So I don't know when we're going to get to this. I know we are getting to this, but I have to mention it now because it could be a
You're
really
jumping
good
in the
chance.
outline?
Yeah,
I spent a lot of time on that.
But it's important just to we could put an asterisk here, but that episode was special for us for many reasons. One of which is we interviewed Jacob Centeno.
Yeah, Jacob.
Who ended
up
Poor Bear Stories
okay.
production company, and we ended up partnering with him to make our documentary, and it was because of that episode. And his father was killed in action, and we had interviewed him on that special episode. And then when we had come up with this idea, we went to him and said, do you want to do this with us? And he had used the funds he received from the foundation to go to school to do what he does now.
Yeah, Special Operations Warrior Foundation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it's like a really cool circle.
Yeah. It reinforces this. I think that's what I find so engaging. It's the subtext behind each of the episodes of this is our legacy, and you're doing something that now I'm trying to emulate, which is I want to capture this living history.
Yeah.
So when we released this Analytic Transformation podcast, one of the things I said to one of the interviewees, I'm not going to spoil it, but I said this particular person had written several books on the topic, and I said those books are great, but it's not you. Like, I want to hear you and you explain what was it like in the room when that decision was being made. And
that is so powerful, and that is what people want to hear.
Right.
They can read the book of like how to and what happened, but it's hearing it from their, not just their voice, but like you can tell by people's, their emotions and the intonation that they use, like what it actually was like when they were doing whatever they were doing. And so I love that. And right now, more than ever, capturing history is incredibly important.
And instructive.
Yes.
Here are the challenges I had, and here's why.
Yes.
I also think, like you were mentioning before, is that we lose sight of people that risked quite a bit to make positive change occur, and then we benefit from that risk. And when they make those positive changes, we carry them forward and honor that legacy, and hopefully we make positive changes.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how good government is done. It's how the nation is secure. So if there's any small contribution we can make in that regard, I think it's a good thing to do. So okay. So you could have done any number of topics.
Yeah.
Why focus on women specifically?
I think it was just an extension of AWIC, and I had seen, and Katie too, I think it's safe to say, and she'll laugh when I say this and hear this, is that I think I can speak for both of us, is it's almost like a marriage, right? Like we have a work marriage, that Sorry, ask the question again.
So you could have done any number of topics.
Yeah, why women?
Why women?
Okay. So why women is because it was an extension of AWIC, and we both saw that how impactful it was to have women. I mean, we started out with AWIC just doing happy hours, like once a month. The first Tuesday of every month, we met at the same place. And it was, having a safe space, that's the key because of the business that all of these women did. They couldn't just talk about it with anybody. They had to talk about it with people who understood and, quite frankly, had the clearance to talk about these things, right? So it was that providing the safe space where women could come and once they felt safe, they were able to open up about a myriad of things, like what were the challenges. And when I say challenges, I'm talking about it could be a senior woman coming to the happy hour saying, it's really lonely at the top. Not just I'm the only woman, but I'm a senior, and being a senior, regardless of gender, is lonely because it's all you. It's all you, right? You're making the decisions. Yes, you have a staff, but it's all on your shoulders. And so there would be those discussions. There would be discussions about, how do I navigate this landscape as a woman? It would be personal stuff like, hey, this is what I loved about it the most. It wasn't just work. It was like, hey, I live in Arlington and I want to move to Reston. And I met this woman at the happy hour that just moved to Reston. She can tell me where good neighborhoods are and the doctors and things like that. So it encompassed all of these things. And it gave you the opportunity, like we all go to all these events, right? Like
maybe too many.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, yes. And they're important for what they are, right? Yes. It is important to build your network. And we definitely have because we went to all of those events.
Right.
But when you go to those as a very junior person, the chances of you going to talk to anyone of, like seniority is slim to none, right? There are hundreds of people going up to that person being like, oh my God, it's so nice to meet you. Can I take your picture? Can I talk to you about this? Blah, 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 blah. And so AWIC gave the opportunity for people at all stages of their career to be in those rooms and have these intimate conversations with leaders they would have never had that experience to talk to. And so it's a long way of saying, I think that's what the podcast does too. I'm going to make a bold statement and say, there's not very many people who wouldn't want to be mentored by Sue Gordon. There's not very many, right? Or Carmen, it's a short list of people who would not want to, right? And listening to their podcast allows them to to get that kind of that personal one-on-one that they might not ever have been able to get, right?
At scale.
Yeah. And that's what this media is best for, is to provide these stories at scale. And that's why it's so popular, not just for what we're doing, but, podcasting and YouTubing and social media in general. Yes, there are negatives to it, but it is providing information at scale, whatever that is. So,
did you ever listen to the WTF podcast with Mark Maron?
I'm very familiar with it. Yes, yeah. I am a comedy connoisseur.
This is exactly what I do. I have serious stuff. I got funny stuff.
Yeah,
but he was one of my favorites.
Yeah,
and of course, and he just retired.
Yeah, he just retired.
And the way he went out and the way he did it, I would say, well, I'm going to take some notes here because at some juncture, I'm going to either have to pass the baton or close this whole thing down.
Yeah.
Hopefully not soon, but at some juncture.
Yes.
And I would definitely do it the way he did it. Just so spectacular. And so if you haven't heard his final episodes, get them now because they're going to come off soon. So one of the things he mentioned in one of these, how do you do it type episodes, is that listeners have an impression that they know you personally because they listen to you.
Yes.
And like, well, I know a lot about you because you tell all these things about yourself over the podcast, which is incredibly vulnerable.
Yes.
And they start to think like, oh, I know Brian, I know Megan. You know, it's like, yeah, but I don't know you. So it's a little odd.
Yes.
But what you are tipping us into is, that intimacy and understanding, like, here are some things that you're telling me with a recording going on, but like right now we're telling everyone.
Right. And you know what's interesting about that is early on, and I'd be interested to know what your thoughts were when, like, the first, 3 or 4 that you did, is I didn't feel like I could insert myself because these were episodes that were supposed to be about these women, right? So I didn't want to insert any of myself other than what you were already getting with the questions, right? And the feedback I received feedback directly from people like that had listened and had DM'd me and said, I want to know more about you in these episodes. I want to know your connection with them or the stories you know with them. And you need to start weaving yourself. It shouldn't be about you, but you need to be weaving yourself into these episodes. And because I was very guarded. If you listen to the first season, I don't think I tried really hard not to talk about me at all. And then I saw how different it was once it was more like a conversation and you could learn you have to know why I can relate to you, right? Why am I sitting here across from you?
Right.
And what, how do we have this connection and this friendship and this, and I didn't realize that early on, and it's really helped me. And I have recommended and counseled other podcasters, like, don't make that mistake early on. People want to learn about you too. They want to know why are you sitting in that chair interviewing these people?
They say yes.
Yes, and.
Yes, and it's funny too. I'm interviewing mostly friends of Lindy and friends of mine, and I think, and of course, it's nice that we have overlapping friend groups, so that makes it easier. But it is a little bit like a marriage. It is a partnership. It's a little bit like a marriage too, because we're trading off all those things. But I hope we're conveying this. Give us feedback if we're not getting we need to know. And not that I'm a introvert by any means. I understand what you're saying because it feels like at certain points I'm imposing my personality into the conversation. Is that kind of what you're saying? Yeah,
that's how I felt. I didn't want to impose any of me because I was like, this is not about me. This is about them, right? This is the whole point. And that's when we received the feedback where, like, no, this is your show. Like, we want to know who you are too.
Right.
Otherwise, we want to hear from, Jane Doe, but how were you able to get Jane Doe? And like, how do you know this? And, it made me think about it differently. And I think about now when I listen to podcasts, I want to know everyone in that podcast. I don't want to just know the guest. So I don't know if I could pass that out. I don't, if you're not already comfortable.
I'm taking notes. It's a thing. I guess I'm going through a journey too, thinking about interviewing styles.
Yeah.
And like I thought when you mentioned that about kind of a detached personality, it's like a Terry Gross on NPR. Mm-hmm. I don't know much about Terry other than she does this interview.
Yeah.
She's probably one of the best interviewers there are in the business. That's why she's had a job for however many decades. But when Mark Maron did the interview with Terry Gross, where she's interviewing him, absolutely fascinating, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm hoping we're capturing some of that magic at this moment.
I think you are.
Podcasters on podcasters.
I think you are.
But I think it's very, very instructive. So we've covered a lot of the stuff. Now, I want to talk about this project that you've been working on
Yeah.
How long? So you have put together a documentary.
Yes.
With Jacob's assistants, you and Katie.
Yep.
And tell us about this. What is this documentary?
So it's the first feature-length documentary about women in the intelligence community. For those that are not a part of this community, it's the first feature-length documentary about women spies, to be blunt.
Sounds interesting.
It was a labor of love, obviously. It was birthed out of the podcast where after, I don't know, about 4 seasons, Katie and I had started to see threads that were being weaved throughout each episode. And it was these themes that were larger than the national security space. Anyone could hear it. Any woman from any community, women in healthcare, women in entertainment, women in construction, and quite frankly, men too. And we were like, how do we amplify this? Like, yes, we can get an audience of our podcast, but how can we bring this to a larger audience? And we threw around some ideas like, do we do a book about these stories? And then we thought, no, because the only people who are really going to buy this book is our community. Like, how do we get this to middle America? How do we get this to people? And so it was 3 years ago, I think December, like literally 3 years ago, in a couple weeks. And we were like, what about a documentary? So we went to a few people. We've told this story a little bit where we went to a few people and said that were in the industry. One was Jake. And we just said, and one is our executive producer, Farah. And we said, is this crazy? Like, obviously we're not filmmakers. We come from the national security space. We know nothing about this. Is it crazy and can we do it? And they both said, it is crazy, but you can do it. And so that's when we decided to finally form a company. And then we had to start raising money, which was the most difficult. I mean, anyone who's had to raise money for anything knows it was extremely difficult. So I won't bore you with the whole process, because we're actually doing a behind the scenes episode where we're going to go step by step, by painstakingly, if you want to hear that type of thing or learn about making your own documentary. But where are we now, and what is it? What is this piece of art that we've made? So 3 years, we are now in the final 2 weeks, I would say, of post-production. So what does that mean? The story is done. The filming is done. It is now in post-production vendors' hands. And who are those people? Those people are like the color grading and the sound engineers and the composer. And so they make it shiny and nice, right? So it's in their hands right now. They're doing that, and we should have, I like to say, it tied up in a bow in 2-3 weeks tops. So it features 10 women. All of them have been on the podcast before, from across the intelligence community, all different demographics of women as far as age, rank, ethnicity, sexual orientation. All are covered in the doc, because that was very important to us, and it tells their stories.
Why was that important?
The why was it important?
The
to
diversity.
I mean, because that is what is life. That is what our country is founded on. That is what makes better institutions, and what makes the IC the best in the world, is because we have experts that come from all different walks of life. And it's just, it at my core, that is extremely important to me.
It is our national advantage.
It is the advantage.
Without question.
Yeah.
Like, people outside of the biz don't appreciate this.
Yeah.
You know what the hardest thing for the Chinese is to do?
What is it?
Is to take a Chinese case officer and put them somewhere else in the world to do human operations. Why? Because it's a Chinese guy in Botswana.
Yeah.
I can see you're not from here.
Yeah.
Right? Any country that's
Right.
not in East Asia, they have a problem.
Yeah.
A significant problem.
Yeah.
In America, we don't have that problem.
Yeah.
I can take someone who might be second generation,
Yeah.
Botswanan national, who is a full-fledged American citizen, cleared to the TSSCI level, can be put...
Speaks the native language.
Speaks the language, knows the
Yep.
culture, gets all the training that they need. They can be in that country, and they know how to get someone to tell you something they otherwise wouldn't say.
Well, we talk about this a little bit. Carmen actually, we've mentioned Carmen a bunch already on this episode, but she is one of the women in the film. And she talks about, I don't want to ruin it because it's such a wonderful moment on film about her being Puerto Rican. And
Don't spoil it for me.
I'm not, because it's so good. You said it beautifully. It is our advantage.
It is our strategic advantage.
Yeah.
And when we do things to diminish it, I think it's not just hurting the people that you're diminishing it to, but it's also hurting our competitive advantage,
Our country and our safety.
our safety.
Yeah, ultimately.
I think the other thing you're tipping into, but I'll just say explicitly, is that who makes a better case officer, a woman or a man? In Brian's opinion, a woman. Because men want to talk to women, women want to talk to women.
Mm-hmm. Well,
regardless of your sexual
I
orientation.
also won't ruin, like, you're just hitting on all the key points that are going to be in the film. But we have a case officer in the film, Laura Thomas, former CIA operations officer. And she talks about why it was a strategic advantage to be a woman case officer. And she was in some tough places. But, yeah, you got to watch because we touch on all of that.
So you've said a lot. I'm not going to ask any more questions because I really don't want to spoil it. I'm super excited to see it. And I've seen the rollout you guys have planned.
Yeah.
I think it's great. So, yeah, it's going to be a real treat. And I think what I am excited about it is, I won't say the culmination because you have so many of these different facets that you and Katie have put together. But my impression, again, not having seen it, but my impression is that you're weaving together a whole bunch of narratives that people need to hear in one cohesive story. I think it's great.
Absolutely. And like I said, there are different themes in the movie that we address. I think one big one is redefining what power looks like. And really redefining it from a woman's perspective. When we talk about power, and if you just say the word power to anyone, the way they think about it is power over something. And
Control.
Like a control, yeah. And what you're going to see in this doc is the redefining of that, where it's a shared power, that through a woman's eyes, power is shared. And so what we plan on doing, if I may, is so we will be, and you mentioned like the rollout. We plan on showing it to our community in March. We did it strategically because it's Women's History Month. We can't call it premieres because we are submitting it to film festivals, and the film festivals have these pesky little requirements where they have to be the world premiere or the East Coast premiere or the West Coast premiere. So you can't have open premieres until basically after you've done the festival route, but you can have closed screenings.
Sure.
So that's what we plan on doing.
Okay.
Large closed screenings.
1,000 of our closest friends.
Yes. That will buy a ticket to come see it, but we will do that March 5th and 6th of next
Do you have a venue
year.
picked for that?
We are working on it. I hate doing this because I'm not a salesperson, and Katie's going to hate that I said that, but we have to get it sponsored first so that we can solidify. We're working on it. We have locations targeted. We just have to make sure we have the sponsorships in before we pull the trigger, basically.
How would someone learn about a sponsorship opportunity?
They could reach out directly to us. They could go to our website, which is ironbutterflymedia.com. They could reach out to me. They could reach out to you to get to me.
I'll
like,
take their money.
Whatever.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Yeah, whatever. But so what we plan on doing is, so we have already, the way film festivals work is they, you don't have to have a complete, you have to be like 80% done. They realize that like at the end, it's just finishing. So we've already submitted to a few film festivals. It is a rolling kind of application process because they're different festivals throughout the year. So basically every month we're applying to a couple, and then that means if we get in, we would be attending, we're planning on attending about 10 next year. We'll apply to about 25. I'm thinking we'll get into about 10. And we plan on taking it on the road and talking about the themes of the movie. And really just kind of socializing it. People have asked us a lot, like, what's your especially people in the entertainment business, like, what's your distribution strategy? How are you going to get this out? And there are different ways to tackle it, and we plan on doing all the ways. So we will be traveling with it because I don't think there's anyone better to market it and talk about it than us.
Yeah.
And then, hopefully we will be at a couple film festivals along the way. Hopefully we might win a couple of them. And then what ends up happening is once you're talked about enough, that's when the distribution companies start coming and saying like, oh, I heard about your film and, let's talk about you being on Hulu or Netflix or whatever, right?
Wow, that's good.
So, so we plan to play the long game, but because we think it's best for the film and like to get it in front of as many people as we can.
That's outstanding.
It's a crazy. I literally can't believe that we did it. It's like wild. It's so wild.
It is. And we opened up with this piece, right? When it starts somewhere. Mm-hmm. Big things happen because somebody has an idea.
We like to say in our studio, you don't see it on camera because it's behind the cameras, but we have a neon sign that says, I have a crazy idea. And it all starts. It doesn't matter how crazy it is. This was a crazy idea.
That's a crazy idea.
And if you have perseverance, look, all things considered, right? Like, yes, you have to raise money and you have to get money for this. You have to do a lot of work and you have to, learn the ropes and all that stuff. But if you're willing to put in the time, put in the effort, learn, not be afraid to learn, not be afraid to say, I don't know how to do this. Mm-hmm. And can you help me? Mm-hmm. Then you can literally do anything. But you have to have a level of grit, perseverance, and just, I guess, a little bit of crazy. I guess a little bit.
A little bit of crazy doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Well, Megan, this has been a real treat. I really appreciate you making time for us, and you'll have a loyal listener in this chair, and I hope we get many more after this publication. But really looking forward to the movie, and thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much. You're really good at it.
Oh, no, don't say that.
You're good at it. Me. I felt very comfortable. I want everyone to know this was very fun, and you're doing great.
Well, thank you. All right, till next time.
I'm Lindy Kaiser.
And I'm Brian Drake.
And this has been the Unredacted Podcast.